Welcome, everybody, to the Fanmouth Daily Fantasy Baseball Breakdown. Today is Wednesday, May the 7th. It's my birthday today, and I'm spending it here with you talking about fantasy baseball. I'm Joe Marsh, joined today by Dave Del Grande. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good. I'm going to tee you up a fastball tonight so you can hit a home run on your birthday. How's that?
All right, I appreciate that. Yeah, if you want to submit a half a lineup or something so I get to win on my birthday and feel good, I'll appreciate that. All right, we're going to go through all the games. We're going to go position by position. We're talking about the late games, 6:35 Eastern Time and later start times. We will give you our picks, give you some advice on how we think you should build your lineup, and go from there. Starting, as we always do, with pitcher. It's not a great night where there are a lot of options. I think there's a couple good options that aren't too expensive that you can use to help build the rest of your lineup. I think it starts with Wainwright. I think he's the top play today. 2.16 ERA with a .94 WHIP. Decent strikeout guy, 8.28 Ks per nine. And he's facing the Braves, who have the second fewest runs in the league. They've scored more than only the Padres. Their offense has been such a mess. They experimented with hitting their pitcher in the eighth spot the other day. So it's a really struggling offense. So I think Wainwright will be able to shut them down pretty well. I think he's a safe play. And then I would pair him with Porcello. You're looking at a line of 8.5 on this game, and their favorites, they're minus 220. So I think, as you're a guy who really likes wins, I think you've got a great shot here at getting a win. Houston is second in the league in strikeout, so Porcello's not a huge strikeout guy, but he may be able to post a big strikeout total. He's got allowing a 1.78 batting average at home with a 1.32 ERA at home. So I think you're in a good spot, to get a win for him to, pitch, maybe get a good quality start out of Porcello today. What are you thinking?
I agree. I agree with both those guys. I'd rate them in the other order just based on price. I think that Porcello against well, let me put it this way: the Tigers against the Astros are the mismatch of the night. You were right that I like to look for the pitchers who are most likely to win. And in this case, not only is Porcello the pitcher most likely to win, but he's pitched very well at home against real teams. Tonight he gets to face the Astros. He's not a big strikeout guy, but my belief is if you give him a lead, give your pitcher a lead, he's going to pitch longer in the game. You get a chance to get more points that way with more strikeouts, more innings, more outs recorded. I think he's in a great spot tonight, and he's not even one of the top price pitchers. So I think that he's the number one pitcher play. And I like Wainwright. The one thing I don't like about Wainwright, and it's only a minor negative, is that St. Louis is terrible at hitting left-handed pitchers. I fear Wainwright could pitch well in this game and not get a win. Miner's not necessarily a great pitcher for Atlanta, but he is a lefty, which is troubling St. Louis. I'm just hoping Wainwright could hold on, win a game 2-1, get all the strikeouts like he usually does. But I do think those two pitchers stand out tonight.
Yeah, I think there may be a chance that they're owned a lot throughout the games, but I think you're putting yourself in a disadvantage if you don't start those two. Yeah, you mentioned Porcello's got a shot to go deep into the game. You get points for innings, you get points for quality starts. So I think he's got a good shot at eating up some innings, maybe a good amount of strikeouts, a low run total, quality start, and probably a win. So I think you're in good shape if you start him. Moving over to catcher, who do you like there, Dave?
Well, tonight I think the number one hitting matchup, hitter versus pitcher matchup, is the Phillies against left-handers. I've talked about the Phillies against left-handers before. Actually, last time out they did not have a good game. They still remain a very good play against left-handed pitching. Tonight they're facing Burley, who's pitched terribly in 2 home games for whatever reason. That's enough of a reason to get me to get a couple of Phillies in my lineup. Carlos Ruiz is one of these big right-handed hitting catchers who hits left-handers well. I think he stands out among the catchers tonight.
All right, I'll give you a couple other options, both righty-righty, lefty-lefty matchups. Yasmil Pinto against Danny Salazar. I'm going to get some right-handed Twins bats in the lineup. Salazar's allowing a 9.83 OPS to righties this year, so I like that. Pinto's a guy who hits right-handers better. And then the same thing with Brian McCann. Hector Santiago is not good against lefties. I mean, he's not that great either way. But McCann's actually hitting lefties at a great rate this year, 8.1 OPS against lefties. So I don't think it's a great night for catchers, but I think those are a couple of good, solid options. Moving over to first base, one of the plays of the day has to be Miguel Cabrera. facing Brad Peacock, who's allowing a 333 batting average to right-handers. Miguel Cabrera is on fire right now. 21 hits and 16 RBIs in his last 12 games. He hits righties very well, 299, hitting 323 at home. So I think all the numbers are in favor of Miguel Cabrera, who's been great lately. I think there are a lot of good options at first base. I think his teammate Victor Martinez is a good play. However, I think you have to have Miguel Cabrera there, and we'll get to it later, but I think you have to have Soriano in your utility spot. So I don't think there's a lot of room for Pujols or Victor Martinez or James Loney, who I also think are good plays. What are you thinking at first base?
I agree with you there, and I do think there are a lot of options, even more than what you talked about. I think Mauer is starting to hit well. You mentioned in your catcher selection that you want to go against Salazar tonight. In fact, I like that game, the Twins and Indians game. I'm definitely going to play some Twins and some Indians in that game. I think Mauer's a good play at first base, but it's hard to go against Cabrera right now. Cabrera against the Astros is kind of like the pitching matchup we talked about. Just too good to be true. Almost a must play in that situation.
Yeah, and he's the top priced option, but I think that's one spot you're going to have to spend the money. As we discussed, you're not spending a ton at pitcher tonight, and there are some other cheap options in your lineup, so I think you should get Cabrera in there to fill it out. Moving over to second base, what do you think?
Well, here we go. I'm going to play, I think the best of the Twins infielders is Dozier. Dozier's a surprisingly good home run hitter. Salazar's given up 6 home runs already this year, and so it's a perfect matchup of a guy who's hitting homers against a guy who's giving up homers. I already mentioned that I like the Twins matchup against Salazar to begin with. I think this is among my infield play. This is as solid as any play I got.
I initially had Dozier, and I had Howie Kendrick edged him out just a tiny bit. You like that game. I also do like that game a lot, but I also like the Angels and Yankees. Those are two bad pitchers, too, facing two good offenses. Another guy I'll give you if you want a cheaper option, Bonifacio. We haven't talked about him a lot lately. He's not absolutely killing the ball like he was earlier, but he's hitting 389 against lefties, facing a very bad lefty in Danks, giving up a 292 batting average on the road. So I think if you're looking to save money at second base, which I'm not sure I'll have to, Bonifacio's a play. If you're spending, I do like Dozier and I do like Kendrick. And then moving over to third base, this is my version of Dozier, one of my top infield plays that I think is a bit cheaper. We talked about him the other day. It's Lonnie Chisenhall. Great matchup. Lefties are hitting 388 against Ricky Nolasco. We talked about Chisenhall, crushes lefties, hitting 380. I'm sorry, righties, hits 386 against righties. So I think you've got a good matchup there of a bad righty against a good hitting lefty with the right splits. What are you thinking at third base?
Agreed. I think we agreed on him the other day, and we're going to agree on him again here today. I've already suggested with Cabrera and with Dozier spending some money at the infield positions. I'm looking to save at least one of the positions. Here's a guy who gives you a lot of potential at a very modest price. So I think that's a perfect combination of what I'm looking for at third base. So I'm going with Chisenhall as well.
All right. Moving over to shortstop. Now, this is a spot I'm going to fade Tulowitzki. He's been absolutely on fire lately, especially in that homestand. He's hitting over 600 at home. He's hitting around 250 on the road. I think his price is somewhat inflated because of that. I'm going to choose to fade him today on the road, and look for another option there. I'll probably, I'll spend big on Cabrera and a couple other guys. Looking for a couple good options. I like Starlin Castro. I like also Johnny Peralta. If you're saving money here, he's been hitting well lately. He was off to a slow start, but over his last 11 games, he's hitting 372. So I think Peralta makes a decent option. What are you thinking at shortstop?
Well, I'd like to not play Tulowitzki, but every time I don't play him, it's a mistake. I mean, he's just one of those guys who's hitting so well right now that I think he has to be in the lineup. You mentioned the fact that they go on the road, but they go to Texas, which is a good hitter's park. I don't really think there's going to be far fewer runs scored. I think the matchup dictates that this is going to be another high-scoring game. I mean, Colorado's just on fire the way they're hitting. I think that's going to carry over to the road. I think Texas will score more runs tonight. I think that's a game where you're going to want to get 2 or 3 guys going. Have some options in the outfield there, but I mean, I have a feeling when push comes to shove, I'm going to end up having either Cabrera or Tulowitzki in the lineup, and I just like the secondary options at first base better than the secondary options at shortstop. So if I have to make that decision, I'm going to go with Tulowitzki. He's just going too well right now.
That's probably a good call. But getting into the outfield, I like Mike Trout a lot. I probably will spend for Cabrera and Trout, who are both the top at their position, and leave Tulowitzki off. I know a lot of people are going to be on him. Maybe to my advantage if he has an off night. Mike Trout's hitting 448 against lefties this year, facing a terrible lefty in Nuno. He hasn't been great as of late, but I really like those splits, and I think today is the day that he's going to bust out of it. Jacoby Ellsbury, again, another lefty who hits lefties well. He's hitting 352 against lefties. And then Soriano, we've talked about at great length, hitting 333 on the year, facing, these guys are facing Hector Santiago, who's not a great lefty. I want to get a few Yankees in the lineup as well. And then, like I sort of mentioned earlier, I'm going to build my lineup. I'm going to plug Soriano into the utility spot right away because he doesn't qualify as an outfielder. That won't leave me room for any backups at first base or anything like that, but I'm automatically going to put Soriano in the utility spot. I wish he had outfield eligibility, but he just doesn't. Couple Rays that I like, Matt Joyce, DeJesus, and then Desmond Jennings has been very hot. You look at his last 8 games, 11 hits, 3 home runs, 8 runs scored, and 3 stolen bases. That's a guy who's been on fire lately, so I look for that to continue again. They're facing the weak pitcher Bud Norris, so I like a few Rays today as well. What are you thinking in the outfield?
I think there's a lot of good options out here. I think if you need to save money, there's good options. If you can spend money, there's good options. You've mentioned most of them. You did not mention my top outfield play, and that's Rios tonight. Rios against Colorado. De La Rosa has given up a lot of homers already. Rios has pounded left-handers for home runs. He's my home run choice for tonight. Just kills left-handers. I think that and he's not one. I think he's 15th on the Fanmouth chart in terms of salary. So you save a little bit of money there, and you get who I think's the best outfield play going tonight. I agree with you with Soriano. I think again you got a powerful hitting right-handed bat against a lefty who gives up home runs. So I'd want him in there as well. I also like Ellsbury. These are high-priced guys. I would consider Blackman as well for Colorado, another high-priced guy. But if you're looking to save a little money on the outfield, I mentioned when I've talked about Ruiz, the Phillies have a couple of right-handed hitting outfielders who hit left-handers well. Bird, certainly, he's the best one going right now. He's not a high-priced guy at all. Even Brown, Dominic Brown, if they're going to start him tonight, I would check the lineups on that. But if he's starting tonight, he's another guy who hits left-handers well. So definitely I'm going to play Rios. Almost for sure I'm going to play Soriano. And if I've run out of money with my Tulowitzki and the other guys we've talked about, then I'm going to throw a Philly or 2 in there.
I like that. I'm always down for starting the Phillies righties. Yeah, especially Marlon Byrd absolutely crushes left-handers. That's all the positions. You want to go ahead and give us a final word, Dave?
Well, we've debated it, but I don't see any way around playing Tulowitzki tonight. He's just been hitting so well. Yeah, they're not at home anymore, but I still like the matchup. I'd counter him as well in that game with Rios. I think they're the 2 top offensive guys going. And in terms of pitchers, I think that what might help you get more good hitters in your lineup is if you pitch Porcello. He's going to save you some money as a pitcher. I think he's the best pitcher option going. So I think that works well together. It's always nice to get at least one pitcher who's going to save you a little money. That could maybe get you one more slugger in the lineup. But I'd certainly anchor my lineup with those 3 guys.
Yeah, I think we agree on pitchers. Wainwright, Porcello is the way to go. There's probably going to be a lot of guys using them, but got to do it. My big plays, I'm going to try to fit in Miguel Cabrera, Mike Trout, and Alfonso Soriano. Soriano obviously would be in the utility spot there, and go with a few cheaper options, maybe Brian McCann, possibly Bonifacio or Kendrick, and then Chisenhall I think is a guy you absolutely have to use at his price to help you fill out the rest of your lineup.
And it's something that we don't talk about often is, A lot of people out there are going to be playing the Colorado Texas game. That's an obvious offensive game. And so when you put guys from that game in your lineup, you're going to see them on the other team as well. If you're looking for guys, sleeper types, a sleeper game where maybe you're going to have guys where others wouldn't consider it, I think tonight's game is Minnesota and Cleveland. We talked about Nolasco not pitching well, Salazar certainly not pitching well. I mean, these are two really struggling pitchers, and because you're talking about the Twins and Indians, you're not talking about really high-priced hitters too. You talked about Pinto. I talked about Mauer, about Dozier, Colabello in the outfield, the guy who hit a home run last night. I think all these guys are options. And then for Cleveland, we've talked about some of their guys. Chisenhall definitely, Brantley in the outfield. I mean, I think there's a lot of options there. If you're looking to fill in guys when you're running out of money, that's a game to look at, because you're going to find in that game a couple of really nice gems. So, be conscious of that as well.
Yeah, I like Aviles as well, but he doesn't have second base eligibility, so he's only at third base, and I'm already going to, be using Chisenhall there. So, but yeah, that's a great game to attack right there. That wraps it up for today. Dave and I will be back on Saturday. I'll be at the NFL Draft the next couple days. I will have a blog post for you on Thursday. I believe we'll have a few blog posts, so you can check it out and see our rankings at blog.fanmouth.com. Also, join us for a game at fanmouth.com if you want to take on Dave or myself. Thank you guys very much for joining us.